So I highly recommend you go and listen to Judith's interview on natural born coaches. It's a very awesome interview indeed.
Well, I was going to talk about that later, but you've just robbed that of me.
Well, it's all right.
I'll have to stick it into another week's episode now.
No, I'll edit it out if you like.
No. It's okay. It's okay. I'm joking.
Okay. All right. Welcome to Own It, Your Business and Your Life, with Nicola Cairncross and Judith Morgan. In this podcast, we're going to cover everything you need to embrace to become a successful entrepreneur, marketing, money, and much, much more. How to create a business doing just what you love. How to own it, your business and your life. This one will be fast, funny, feisty, and very lively. So sit back and enjoy the show. Judith, welcome back. It's the week after Christmas, and you haven't been very well, I understand.
No, I haven't. No, I haven't for the whole of December, but I've been being rather brave about it, Nicola. I thought I'd been overworking and spending too much time looking at the backlit screens, and it was giving me headaches. But then I discovered, I did a lot of Googling, and then other people on Facebook also have got the same thing. We've got some kind of virus. I don't even know what a virus is, to be honest, because I don't really do sick and I don't have a doctor. But we've got a virus that manifests itself as really, really vile headaches that won't go away even with painkillers.
Ooh.
So it's related to your sinus, which, as you know, is in your head and in your face. And it's basically, there's no nice way to say this, it's head snot. But it's not like you've got a cold. So I've done sneezing. There's no coughing, and there's no blocked nose or anything like that. But it is easing because I've been resting. I cancelled all my week, actually. I cleared all the people out for a fear of infecting them or me infecting.
Yeah.
Whatever, you know what I mean? And I feel better already, to be honest.
Yeah, that's good to hear, because you were such a trooper. I had no idea that you weren't feeling well. But headaches are horrible, especially if they won't go away with painkillers.
Well, I don't really get headaches very much. You can make a headache in your life. You probably have, I don't know, maybe one a month or something. And you can either drink a pint of water or have a headache tablet and it goes away. But this is like living with a permanent headache.
God, that's not.
I know, not funny at all.
No. Are we going to hear your Christmas haiku?
Well, my nephew made a haiku, but all the rest of us made long poems. Mine's got 7 verses, and each verse is about every single member of my family. So I won't bore you with that one, actually. But
I think we should do some business haikus.
Oh yes, that's a good idea.
That'd be quite fun.
Well, we could do a business haiku competition.
We could.
Oh yeah, what fun!
In fact, we could do it for the podcast. We could encourage our listeners to come to episode 8 at ownitthepodcast.com and submit their business haikus, and we'll pick a winner at the end of January. How's that?
Okay, so that's perfect. Let's just recap what they are. It's a Japanese poem, 3 lines long, 17 syllables in all. Does it go 757? I think it does. No, it goes 575. Sorry, otherwise it wouldn't add up to 17.
Glad you're the accountant here. I hadn't spotted that.
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, because I really fancy having a crack at this, and it could be great fun. So,
I'd love to have a go as well. It's really quite hard. You know that famous quote about, "I'm sorry I didn't have time to send you a shorter note." It's harder to write short than it is to write long, which is why we all went for 7 and 9 verses instead of a haiku.
Yeah, but that we've all been trained by Twitter into 140 characters now. So,
well, notionally, yes.
Notionally. And the other thing is, we could share everyone's haikus onto Twitter through. That'd be really good fun.
Yes.
And I see a lot of fun with this. Well, you haven't been very well. So, has anything been happening at all on businessy at all? I know you've got. I've got something I want to. One of my word of the week will lead nicely into talking.
Okay. So, well, yes, because of the poorliness, which is quite useful to have something to blame. I've cleared my week out, as you've heard. I drew up a spreadsheet which was called. Oh, let me see if I can find it. It's called To Do or To Think About. It was the things I was going to do over my Christmas holidays, and the first week was very busy. The second week's been less busy because I cleared all the people out with an intention of getting well again. So I've done lots of reading and writing and a little bit of clearing of the decks. Tiny bit of clutter clearing. There's not much clutter around here, as you know, but a little bit of it to keep on top of things. Just sort of tidying. So it's just sort of preparatory work, isn't it, for going back to school next week?
Yes, I've been thoroughly enjoying my preparatory work, I must say, because I had 3 days off. Phoebe forced me up to Tesco's on Christmas Eve. I don't know why everyone makes such a fuss about Christmas. We went up there, it wasn't too busy, there was loads of stuff, and we were done. But she did say to me afterwards, she said, I can't believe how expensive it was. I said, darling, it was the cheapest Christmas I've had for 19 years.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? What you think is cheap and what she thinks is expensive. That's the different perspective on life.
Yeah, because we had a smaller numbers for lunch, I really was, yes. It was half what I normally spend.
yeah, it is expensive, actually. Do you want to tell me what you spend?
£178.
Yes, for 3 of you.
Yeah, for 3 of us, yeah.
Yes, and I spent about 100 for one of me.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I'm lucky normally when there was four living in the house, and then we would regularly have a couple of guests. It was well, 350 to 500 quid easy.
Yes, it's a lot of money, isn't it?
It is just for lunch. Yes, but I did buy a remarkable turkey crown, which kept me going for the next 3 days. I did the obligatory turkey curry. I do love.
Oh, I missed out on the turkey curry. What a good idea!
Oh, I love turkey curry. I had to be a Thai one because I didn't have enough jalfrezi paste, but I wasn't going out. So
no, I like cold meat and bubble and squeak, and then turkey sandwiches. But I forgot about the turkey curry. That's a good idea.
Oh, bubble and squeak's so delicious. I might have to buy some sprouts just to make it, on the side. Well, then the teens turned up in the evening.
Yes, I saw the evidence on Facebook, I think.
Oh, did you? I didn't see any evidence, so I better go and skulk their profiles.
Oh no, there was one nice photo of you with Phoebe, definitely, and 2 or 3 teenagers who I didn't recognise.
Oh, they were all so sweet, Judith. They were so respectful. Nothing got broken. The place was an absolute, looked like a bomb had hit it. It was all over by midnight, so the neighbours were happy, and they were just charming young people. I really, really enjoyed it. Although I did drink far too much cava, and so that wiped out Boxing Day. I had a nice lie-in on Boxing Day and watched Downton Abbey in bed.
Rock and roll, Nicola.
Oh, I know, it's so sad, isn't it? But I was also reading books, which I'm going to talk to you about in a moment. But then by the day after Boxing Day, I was bored stiff. So I read Dan Norris's 7-Day Startup again. I've had this idea percolating in my head because my Facebook ad service isn't quite right yet, and I decided to work through his book and see if I could turn it into a startup. The difference between a startup and a new business is a new business can be as small as you like and fit your lifestyle. A startup is something that could go global and is scalable. And I do find the idea of that quite exciting, because I don't know if you remember when we first, well before we first met, I had artistmanager.com, and I was doing the rounds of venture capital meetings and doing all that stuff. I even got down to the producer's audition at Dragon's Den with Artist Manager. And then they told me that you'd have to work on it full time. And as I had the hotel and all that stuff at the time, it wasn't practical.
Yeah.
I do remember Steve driving me up to the BBC for my interview, and it was quite an exciting day for him because he ended up sitting on the sofa in reception next to lots of famous people. So I thought, okay, well let's go through the process. And he's got a book called 7-Day Startup. So if you've got a business idea that you'd like to work up in a week, I highly recommend the book. It's very practical, and I actually followed it and I blogged along the way on my Business Success Factory blog, and I'm getting quite a lot of sharing and comments and feedback from that, which led me into the daily blogging thing, which I quite enjoyed. And I've definitely seen an uptick in traffic on that. So following on from our discussion about your 30% increase, I'm looking forward to hearing your plans, because I know you've got some plans around Facebook, using your page differently.
I have. Let's get ahead of ourselves. Okay, I'm going to talk to you about that in a later section.
Oh, good. And then of course the big news this week is, I went to America to work with Rich Sheffrin in October, because they've been getting us to report in about how we feel. It's not just about what we do; it's about how we feel. Feel so different from after I've come back there. I I was getting better and getting better and getting better after our setbacks of 2010. But there was like a 10 to 15% of me left that still felt a bit unsure. And going to work with Rich just knocked that right out of me. I feel absolutely 100% back to pre 2010 Nicola. So I've been, they've been getting us to send in emails saying how we feel, do we still feel, how do we feel, what we're doing and all this stuff. And Chuck, the copywriter, came back to me and said, could we put some of them together into a blog post, and how would you feel about that? And I said, no, fine. He said, we'll give you final approval. And yesterday morning, my 7-day startup was going really, really well until day 6 when the website fell over because apparently there was too much traffic. I find that hard to believe. I think GoDaddy were fibbing there, but I swapped it onto WP Engine, and by lunchtime it had just about propagated. When you change a domain name, you have to do the domain name. Yeah. It takes a while. By lunchtime it had propagated, which is good news because Rich's email went out at 11:30 to about, 260, 250,000 people.
Wow.
And I was thinking, oh my God, if I've got a website up, and they've mentioned the URL of my new startup in the blog post, which is really nice of them. So I really wanted to get it going by then. And it all came together in a rush at sort of 12 o'clock noon. And he wrote such the copywriter, or I can't imagine it was Rich, although he would have had final approval. They wrote such a nice email, and then they wrote such a nice blog post, and I'm just really thrilled with the whole thing. And really, if you asked me at the beginning of the year, would you like Rich Sheffrin to mail for you? Yes, please. That would have been really quite up there with amazing events for me. So the year's ended on an amazing event.
It's interesting that he's drawing you, all this talk about how do you feel, it's drawing you more into my territory than yours, the touchy-feely stuff, isn't it?
Well, he's been going through it himself because as he talks about quite openly on his audio dispatches to his members, once you've got everything, where do you go from there? He had the Porsche, he had the house, he had the wife and 2 kids, he had a business that ran without him. What do you do after that?
Yeah.
And he didn't feel connected to anything. So he started to work with this transformational specialist called Dr. Laurie Emery. Mm-hmm. And she had such an impact on his life that he wanted to bring it to his entrepreneurial community because he realised there was lots of people who, he'd done all the strategies. He put together 2 amazing programs. I'd been through both of them. He realised that there were still some people who couldn't get themselves to take the action. So he felt it was more important now to go down the road of helping people to get over themselves, overcome their internal obstacles, rather than teaching any more tactics.
Well, it's interesting because that's what I think it's mostly all about, to be honest with you. I think any old idiot can learn from a book or me or you or anybody how to run a business, but actually doing it, it seems to me that most of the barriers are psychological.
Oh, totally. So, when we used to work in wealth creation, didn't we? We used to talk about this a lot, and there were people, there are people who just get on with it. I mean, James Schramko is one. He doesn't seem to have had an internal obstacle in his life. And we know clients ourselves that have been very down to earth, practical people, and they just get on and do it. Mm. They're in the minority, the absolute minority.
I agree.
Yeah. So, yes, that was a rather nice end to the whole thing.
Good.
What's fueled your fire this week, Judith?
Well, I have to say it's all this talk of 2015. Despite the fact that I'm pledged to resting until Monday so that I'm in top-notch condition to go back to work, let me at it, Nicola. I'm quite keen. I love a new year. I love the turning of a new page and new journals and new intentions and new plans and all that. I'm keen as mustard. So I don't want to get going today or tomorrow, or what day is it today? Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I want to get going properly on Monday. And I've already planned Tuesday as a sort of specific Judith day for myself and myself only. But I'm keen. I'm keen for 2015.
Yeah, and you've been reading, haven't you, over Christmas and New Year?
Oh, yes, but leisure reading, really. I've tried not to do any work at all, although apart from my blogging and marketing type writing and Facebook, which is marketing for me, I've done no client work, and I've deliberately left work related reading off my reading. So I'm doing whodunits and things like that.
I do like a nice whodunit. I prefer a science fiction fantasy, as you know. I just love reading business books right now.
I know you do. You gobble them up, actually. I was thinking of you in the shower. You've got a voracious appetite when it comes to these books.
Well, I'm reading less than I did because I'm listening to podcasts. So what I'm having to do, because I can't read in bed anymore if it's a proper book because it's too damn small and I can't read it very well. And I end up going to sleep with my glasses on my face, which hurts when you wake up in the middle of the night. Head's jammed into the pillow with your glasses wedged into the side of your face. So podcasts are more practical to go to sleep to. But I have been trying to get away, just go and sit in the living room and on a nice chair with the fire on and read a book on the Kindle.
Mm. And in terms of fueling your fire, what about you this week?
Well, it's 2 books, actually. One is called Obvious Adams, and it was written back in the 30s or 40s. And it's a slim little volume. I highly recommend it. It's about a down-to-earth young chap who discovers he wants to work in advertising. True story. Works his way up to one of the most famous men in advertising because he never overlooks the obvious. And he's got the gift of simplifying things. This is the kind of book that apparently is bought in hundreds of thousands by big corporations and given out to all their management team because they want people not to overlook the obvious. And they make the point that thinking is the hardest work of all. Yeah. And a manager, I think it was 1 Minute Manager by Ken Blanchard or Who Moved My Cheese. I can't remember exactly which one it was, but they talk a lot about a manager or an entrepreneur should have an empty desk because
yes,
you should be thinking, not doing.
Absolutely, and leading and directing and encouraging and all that kind of thing. Yeah absolutely.
You don't have ideas and you can't be creative when there's clutter and mess and lots of calls on your time. So yes. I've determined to think about what's the obvious answer when I'm thinking about challenges. So, for example, I want to get a lot of traffic to my new startup, which is clicksandleads.com. And obviously the obvious is to use Facebook ads because it's a Facebook ad service. But I'm trying to think what else I can do. And I've come up, I thought, well, blimey, I've just interviewed 100 entrepreneurs over the last year. I've got them on a mailing list. I could just email them and give them a link to my affiliate page and ask them to help, So let's not overlook the obvious.
Yeah. And also we know that about 30% of them are responsive, don't we?
Yeah, and we also know that there's some with some very big lists.
Yeah.
And then the other book I've read is The Hard Thing About Hard Things, which is being recommended a lot in sort of my internet marketing circles at the moment. And it's all about how to run a startup, when it's about the bloke who ran, it's a software startup, you probably wouldn't have heard of it. He took it from really, really good times through really, really difficult times back to really, really good times again in the .com crash. He just comes across really well, but there's nothing much to learn from me from that yet. I think Obvious Adams was a better one for me.
I have heard of Obvious Adams, actually.
Oh, good. Well, it's a nice little read. That fueled my fire quite nicely.
Very cool.
This week's episode was sponsored by Audio Jungle. To get some immediate atmosphere for your website or your recordings, go to ownitthepodcast.com/Audio Jungle. So instead of the client, you lead into this one, Judith. You introduce.
Okay, yeah, I did. I thought instead of client challenge of the week, we would address the 2 questions that you brought up last week, which is what's worked and what will you change. Can't remember who you said the questions came from.
Jeff Walker.
Was it Jeff Walker? Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, and you can find Jeff Walker at jeffwalker.com. He's got some nice videos on there.
And we recommend his book, Product Launch Formula.
Well, I bought Product Launch Formula, the product, but he's actually got a book that's just simply called Launch. And I highly recommend that. It's pretty good. If you don't want to buy the whole product, it's like Dan's 7-Day Startup. It's a really good foundation for putting a launch together in a book simply.
Okay, so let's do one of these questions each at a time, as it were. Okay. Let's start with, what did you find in 2014 that worked for you?
Well, I've got 4 things noted down. One is podcasts, because my own podcast, The Business Success Factory, has worked in terms of making me network with people where I wouldn't normally. And lots of podcasters say the same. It's a great networking opportunity. it also established, and this one is so much fun and is already getting a lot of traction, just to encourage our listeners to go and review us on iTunes, because we're hitting new and noteworthy at the moment. We've got 8 weeks to get to the top 10, so we'd really appreciate your help. Different kinds of podcasts, but the other thing, the reason that it's worked is because it sparked off my creativity, and it's made me realise when I'm working in my flow. So, the whole creativity and chatting and being on something that like this is very much in my flow. Getting my 2 books out has worked from a point of view of establishing authority. People are always very impressed when you do your books. And in fact, I used Jeff Walker's product launch formula to launch my book, The Business Success Factory, and it got to #1 on Amazon in sales and marketing. So although it hasn't sold massive amounts, again, it's something to be able to put at the end of my email signature on the side of my website that I'm a #1 Amazon best-selling author.
Yeah.
So that's really nice. The other thing that's worked is investing in training courses. I invested in several training courses. I crammed how to do Facebook ads at the beginning of the year, and it's the best thing I ever did. And one of the courses was well over $1,000, and I was umming and ahhing about doing it, but it really was the best training course I've ever undertaken. And the community and ongoing backup and support for any questions has kept us all right up to date. So that's really, really been amazing for me. When you buy someone's training course, you get access to the person, which is invaluable because they know who you are and they will help you.
Yeah.
But you don't get that if you don't buy their course. Yeah. Obviously.
Yeah. It is obvious, yes, but it's good. Yeah.
It's another networking thing. And just streamlining everything. I'm constantly working to try and not add anything new, but to get rid of old stuff that's out of date, really. What about you then?
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? Because this is it's a good time of year for doing this sort of reviewing thing. And when you ask yourself a question, what's worked? I was quite surprised by the answers, actually. Oddly, my answer is joint ventures. So you and the podcast. And John inviting me to be on the 30-day challenge in June.
Oh.
And what I like about both of them, so, in terms of the podcast, it's only an hour a week and it's fun. In terms of the 30-day challenge, it was only the month of June and it was fun. So they're quick and fun. They're easy in the sense that they came to me. I haven't initiated any of them. And I won't initiate any joint ventures because I've done a lot of that in the past and I find it exhausting. But it's lovely to be asked. It's a bit like being asked to dance, isn't it? I've been asked to dance by you and John, and I've accepted both of you and I've loved it. So if anybody's listening and has a proposition, bring it on.
I think joint ventures are all the more fun when you're being courted because of your knowledge and skills, and the other person does a lot of the work.
Well, I think that's what I'm saying, funnily enough. Yes, and also I didn't. What was brilliant about both of these is I didn't even look for them. They came to me, which is really nice.
They came and they asked you to dance, and then what's even better was they led, because you're usually the one who would lead, and it's quite.
I think that's why. I think you're right, Nicola. That's exactly why I won't initiate anymore, because it can be rather exhausting to be constantly leading, can't it?
Yeah. Yeah, and I always tell my clients when they're talking about joint ventures, only ever do joint ventures with someone who meets you halfway. In fact, I used you as an example. I said, I'm leading this podcast in terms of, it's my idea and I'm doing all the tech, but you turn up on the money every week, regardless of whether you were ill. We had to do 3 episodes up front. You were there for that. It doesn't feel, it's a totally 100%, 50% each venture. Do you know what I mean?
Well, it's interesting because what you're talking about there is a value, and it's something I really appreciate in friends, colleagues and clients, is if we've agreed to do anything, that the other person's where we've said we will be at the time we've said we'll be. Even this morning, I was 5 minutes late while you let me make a cup of coffee, but it was perfect, wasn't it? Because we were both in approximately the same place at the same time, ready, willing and able to meet our commitment.
Yeah, that is interesting you talk about values there, because that's one of the first things I do when I work with clients now. I did that VIP day with a client just Christmas. That was the first exercise. Do you remember Thomas Leonard started the needs and core values?
Yes.
I couldn't ever find the list of core needs, so if you've got that knocking about anywhere, I'd love it.
I do have it. Remind me later. I've got it. Yes. I tell you why. It's called Needs Less. If you Google Needs Less.
Okay.
It's called the Needs Less program, something like that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I found the original values thing, and so we worked through that, and it was interesting. His obviously were very different to mine.
Yeah.
But I think if you know what your business values are, and interesting, you remember I talked quite a lot about Traction, the book, The Traction. The vision traction organizer sort of sheet that you work from is the first thing on it is what are your business values.
Yes. We might talk more about that in a future episode, because actually it's quite hard to know, isn't it? Yes, there's that exercise that we can put people in touch with, but it's quite hard to know what your values are until they're offended. I think breached is the word I mean, rather than offended.
When someone's breached your values.
Yeah. What will you change, Nicola? What will you change about 2015?
I think I've changed my business model for the Facebook ads. It's a subtle shift, but it makes me feel so much more empowered. So rather than doing the whole thing of high ticket item consultation, creating a bespoke program of Facebook ads and marketing support for someone, I'm just going to market the hell out of clicksandleads.com, which is just 3 little simple packages, and let people go through that. And only once they've been through that will they be able to say, oh, I'd quite like this, this, and this, and I can either say yes or no.
I think that's a good idea. I think it's also a good idea to plan to do it for 2 or 3 years if you can, because your early adopters will catch on in 2015. And as I said to you before, you've got to stick in there with something, not just you, me, creators. We've got to stick in there with something because it takes most people quite a long time to catch up with what on earth we're talking about. And what's likely to happen is, the big wave of people who, like us, not like us in the sense that we're early adopters, but like us in the sense that we have people that run their own businesses from home. It seems to me likely that just as you're getting bored of this in 2 or 3 years' time, they'll go, Facebook ads, maybe I should be thinking about Facebook ads, because the rump takes so long to catch on.
Yeah.
And if you can hang on with your core offering for a year or 2 or 3, you clean up towards the end of that period, I think, when everybody moves in, the big hump in the middle of the curve.
Yes, I do know exactly what you mean. I'm going back to pay what you want for my Fast Start Masterclass.
Oh, how exciting.
Well,
we should have another chat about that, because let's have another brainstorm about that, because I'd love to help you with that.
Yeah, okay. Do you mean on the podcast or off the podcast?
No, I think, well, let's discuss it off and then let's come back to it. Carry on with your thought for the moment.
Well, it's just that I sell 2 or 3 a month, and that's a really nice income. But what I really want is lots of people doing it.
Yeah.
My goal is not necessarily to make money from it, but to get working through what I think is one of the best training programs on the market. I'd rather there were 20 people going through it and pay what you want. So
I agree because it's doing marketing for you as well.
Well, exactly. And also, 30 to 50% of people stay on the regular mentoring. And so it's a great lead. In the same way that Clicks and Leads is a great simple lead generator for the Facebook ad service, I think Fast Start Masterclass on Pay What You Want could be. Here's
an idea then for you on Pay What You Want. Just to have a think about this. A website that I'm aware of and that I've sent a client to before when he was experimenting with the Pay What You Want model is the Daily Om. It's not right for you, but have a look at the. Yeah, OM, it's not right for you because it's, yogurt weaving and omming. But what they model, you can pay what you want on there, but they offer you drop-down choices. So $1, $5, $10, $25, $50. So actually you offer people, half a dozen price points and they can pick one.
Oh, that's a great idea.
I know. And you can do that on PayPal, you know that?
No, I didn't know that.
Ah, there you go.
What do you mean you can do that on PayPal?
Well, you can, give people choices.
Oh, that's so exciting, Judith. That's the most exciting thing I've heard.
I did it with my listening vouchers. Buy 1, buy 5, buy 1, buy 3, buy 5, buy 10, and it's a little drop-down box with arrows.
Oh, that is awesome.
I know.
Oh, well, that's my afternoon sorted.
But you see, it helps people, doesn't it? If you give them choices, you show them they can buy it for $1, they can buy it for 5, they can buy it for 10, they can buy it 25, 50, whatever. Not too many. I think 4 or 5 is probably about right. But it gives them the range. It gives them the range. One thing you taught me years ago is that they'll pick in the middle of that range.
Yes. Oh, that's great. I love that. And the nice thing is that I've had people emailing, definitely I'm getting an upsurge in emails from people thinking, I want to get started with internet marketing. And some of them are quite heart-rending stories. And I've been delighted to email them back and say, hold on till New Year's Day because I'm going to go with a pay what you want model so you can get in.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah.
How abundant, Nicola?
Well, it's all about me feeling happy nowadays.
Yes, I like that. It's a nice engine for a business to do anything that makes you feel happy.
It is, and I've just got 2 things to promote then, and they're both lovely front ends lovely value added front ends to the only 2 things I'm going to concentrate on this year, apart from the podcast.
And there's another topic we should discuss in a future episode, because I don't believe most people think that they can create a business out of happiness and love. But I think we believe that and increasingly move towards that. And maybe that's something that we should keep coming back to, because I want people to believe that that's the best way to run a business, actually.
Yeah, I mean, perhaps we ought to change this section from client challenge of the week just to challenge of the week, or challenge or idea of the week, or
Yes.
brainwave of the week, or something.
Yes, whatever. Yeah, or sort of opportunity of the week.
Are you making notes of all these ideas you keep having during these podcasts? Because I won't remember.
Well, they're recorded, aren't they?
Yeah,
I'll write them down when I listen.
All right, fair enough.
So, shall I tell you what I'm going to change?
Yes, I'd love to hear that.
I've been working far too hard.
Yeah, you have.
I've been working far too hard. I'm going to do two things. I'm going to spend a lot more time away from the screens. I do love my gadgets, but the headaches have made me realise that if you spend too much time in front of the computers, they definitely fry your brains. And one of the things I'm going to try and do immediately, and I say try because I'm not convinced I can do this because it is an addiction, but I am going to try and create some boundaries around emails. And I like to clear my inbox every night.
I know.
But I'm going to stop that at 6 o'clock. I may even tell the email only to send me in the emails at, say, 9, 12 and 5. And do them in batches, and when they're done, That's it. Do you remember that's another Mark Forster idea, which is you save all your emails for today and you do them tomorrow. It's one day's work, and that's how to work out whether you can do the work that you've got. But I can't leave it all behind at 6 o'clock. It's a definite addiction. It almost itches, I can't.
Yeah.
But I want to.
Yeah, I mean, my challenge with that is just that I love to subscribe to things. Put my email in willy-nilly. I mean, Google has helped with that because it all goes into updates and promotions, and so I don't feel the need to look at them, but there's still too much coming into my main inbox.
Yeah, I don't have much of that. Mine is all of my work comes into my inbox, but I think I'm going to put more boundaries around that so that I'm only going to do my work during office hours, not 24/7, 365. That's what I'm saying.
Do you know that you can change and create your own tabs in Gmail?
I don't use Gmail.
Oh, right. Okay. But
my email works, and I like it like that. It is empty every night, so it could be empty every night at 6 o'clock. It doesn't need to be empty every night at midnight.
No.
So anybody emailing me about business after 6 o'clock will get a reply tomorrow.
Yeah, that's fair enough, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
You're right. I mean, I definitely, I don't get headaches, but I definitely notice that I get heady. I call it heady. It just feels like you're up in your head, your whole body and everything, all your innards have gone up into your forehead.
Yes, exactly. And also I think there's a sort of stoop which goes with the iPad where your head is bent forward at the neck, which apparently is not very good for you either. So.
Widow's hump that'll lead to.
Yes, exactly, yes.
We don't
so are we going to move on now? We're going to move on to Word of the Week.
What's yours?
Yeah, so here's my curveball for you. Remember I promised to throw a curveball at you. I should have warned you about this in advance because I'm not sure you'll be ready. But I thought we should make it Word of the Year.
This week particularly is Word of the Year.
Yeah, now, so only this week, yes, because we're on the cusp of a new year. Now, there's a lady that I follow called Susanna Conway. She's got an H on the end of her name. And she sends, you can get for free, without even subscribing, I think, and I've done it 2 years running, a lovely sort of new year planning type of thing. I think it's called Unraveling 2015 or something like that. And she always gets you to pick a word of the year. And so when I saw this Word of the Week, having done her workbook already, I thought, this week it should be Word of the Year. So my Word of the Year is miracles. And you saw that little lovely post on Facebook with the pot. And so I'm going to make a miracles pot. I think that's why the doorbell might ring in a minute when they're delivering my coloured paper from Amazon. I'm going to make a miracles pot, and I'm going to open it up at next Christmas. I'm going to say, right, how many of these miracles have come true? And they could be quite small miracles, and some of them will be quite large miracles. But last year, my word was magic, and this year it's going to be miracles. Both of them right on brand for me, you'll see.
Can I ask a couple of questions about the miracles?
Yes, you may.
So you're going to put as many things in the jar on coloured paper.
Yes.
That you'd like to miracles that you'd like to happen this year.
Yes, small ones or big ones. It's another word for goals or intentions, really, because none of us know what's going to happen in advance. We're not, mind readers or psychics or anything like that. And then some of them will be left field, quite small miracles, and some of them will be quite big ones. So just fun, really. It's just another way. It's a visual way of having fun. Now, one of my other clients suggested we should get a few out at the end of January. And so she's going to use it in a slightly different way, which is she's going to have sort of January type goals or intentions. She's going to do it monthly as she goes along, but I thought it would be nice to do it for a whole year, really.
See, I'd struggle to. I'd have to have a very small jar because I'd probably only be able to come up with about 10.
Well, if you pick small miracles, then you can have a bigger jar.
I'm such a big picture thinker. I struggle with that a little bit.
Do you?
Yeah, I think I could come up with a few 3 to 5 big miracles I'd like to happen in the year.
Yes, I've got miracles of all size on my list.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I mean, the jar looked lovely.
Yes, it does look lovely. Have you got a word of the week, and does it work for the year, or do you want to change yours now?
No, I had a word of the week, which I think we should talk about as well. But my word,
Okay.
I've chosen my word of the year, and it's flow.
Nice.
I'm only going to do things where I'm working in my flow.
Okay, and how will we notice when you're not?
Because I'll feel miserable. It's very easy.
Yeah, and how quickly do you notice when you feel miserable?
Quite quickly.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And what I keep doing is trying to force myself to do things where I'm not in my flow because it's an interesting one. It's either because I think it will make a lot of money or because I think it'll make me a proper business person in inverted commas.
Yes.
And actually, reading all these books about startups and things, it's just really made me realise that you've got to start your startup in your flow.
It doesn't work that way round either. If you remember the quote that you always do about the rivers of abundance, do you remember that one?
Yeah. If you find the biggest number of people to serve, the rivers of abundance will flow for you.
Yeah, you serve first and then it comes to you. We mustn't chase the money.
No, absolutely true. And, that's easier said than done when you go through what we've been through. But,
Well, I think you've got to pay your bills. So you've got to have a little eye on, you've got to have, at least 1 foot on the ground.
Yeah.
But in terms of sort of world domination of a brilliant idea or anything, I don't think it works. If you start with the money, it doesn't work.
So flow is the one for me because, the other thing, speaking at Inspire, I didn't think I was all that, but I've still got people complimenting me and contacting me on social media saying how much they loved it and how much I inspired, which was really good. Yes. I delivered the brief for Jackie, which is good. Yes. But, that was such an enjoyable, fun, lovely, wonderful thing to do. Everything about it, going on the train, being looked after when I got there, being in a lovely hotel, having a nice lunch, lots of lovely people to talk to. It was just all flow.
That's something I would put on a piece of coloured paper and put it in the jar, because what you'd like to turn up in your life is more on invitations like that meet all of those qualities.
Okay, here's a challenge, right? So if the whole going to America to work with Rich was not flow at all, it was a massive, massive undertaking for me on lots of different levels. So theoretically, one could say that I shouldn't have done that. But it was a life-changing.
No. You weren't working then. I mean, it was about your work, but you were stepping outside your comfort zone to get hold of some information that would help you in your business. Yeah. That's not the same thing as being in flow. When you talk about flow, you're saying I'm only going to start things in my business life where I'm in flow.
Yeah.
And you see the distinction?
Yeah, absolutely. And where the daily tasks are in my flow.
Yeah.
For example, editing this podcast is an absolute...
Well, I mean, who would know that? I wouldn't have imagined it. Wouldn't be in my flow. Do you know what I mean? Except, and we're both creators, but you're slightly more you're quite a deal more techie than me.
Yeah. So there you go. Flow. The word of the week I was going to choose, which I think we should discuss because it will give you the rather marvellous opportunity to tell us all about what you're up to next year.
Okay.
Fail.
Is what? Fail?
Yeah, because obviously you can't turn the telly on at the moment without DFS sofas being in your face. And I had actually made a decision last year not to discount any of my stuff anymore. But there's a difference between discounting and bundling and making and giving extra value, which I think you've been demonstrating marvellously on your blog, especially with your 13. Is it your magic 13?
Yeah, lucky 13. Yeah.
Yeah. Tell us about that, because I think you're doing that really nicely, and I think people who are thinking of doing any kind of sale would be well to study how you're doing it.
Well, I think it's interesting, isn't it? How my marketing works best is the right offer arriving on the right day, and that's outside my control. So all I try to do is, in fact, I've bought a wall chart this year to plan it, a marketing plan for a year. Rather than sort of have these ideas in the shower in the morning and go to the computer and sell them. All I try to do is change the offering. So let's imagine my offerings are like a tin of Quality Street. How many choices are there in there? Probably eight or 10, aren't there?
Let's say 10.
And they're all the same. They're a sweetie, but they're different, aren't they? There's a fudgy one and a strawberry one and a caramelly one and a toffee one, and we all like our favourites. So all I'm trying to do is I'm just trying to market the same things all of the time, but I'm trying to find different wrappers to put them in. So the first year I did Lucky 13, I was surprised to discover that quite a lot of people thought that 13 was their lucky number, and it was their birthday, and they grabbed it because it had 13 on it, and it felt lucky to them and all that kind of thing. And I realised that 13, somebody who would see 13 as lucky, was my ideal client, because they're going against the flow. In certain countries in the world, they don't even have a button 13 in the lift because so many people think it's unlucky. Do you know what I mean? So they were self-selecting as my ideal clients, because they're all already people who know their own mind and go against the flow. So that against the grain. I liked that. But the first year I offered them twice the bang for half the buck, which I wouldn't repeat because it was just double the work for me.
Twice slow up.
Well, so instead of one call a month, they got 2 calls a month.
And they paid half for what they were.
No, they didn't. They paid in full, but they got twice. I had to work twice as hard for the same money, so I didn't repeat that. I modified it. In year 2, I bundled it up with a time to think session, which is where they come here for 3 hours. But as you know, first of all, I've got a global audience, so some of them can't come here. And secondly, I might not be here because one of my miracles is that I want to live in my Caribbean island. So that doesn't work for this year either. And this year, I've decided they can always buy 10, 12 for the price of 10.
Yeah.
So that's a credit worth 2 months, if this makes any sense. So I thought, well, in addition to giving them 12 for the price of 10, I'll match that credit and give them 2 more. And then, if they do it by a certain date, I'll give them a third more. So they could get 15 for the price of 10, which is only 50% extra work for me instead of 100% extra work for me, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But and sometimes in November I do it on a discounted price, same deal, but it's cheaper. So you're looking for people who want bargains in one and value in another, and they're not the same to me. And there are some people who want to come and do some face-to-face. So you're looking all the time for, shall I offer them a toffee or a strawberry cream? And I just rotate that. But with the Lucky 13, because it attacks my profit margins, I can only do it with 13 people, end of.
It's great for you because they have to pay for the whole package up front. So for cash flow, it's brilliant. But then also you've got limited numbers, which is another. And the thing is, this is really important, everyone. Only ever do a sale of any kind because always give it a reason. And the second most important thing is always to be absolutely 100% in integrity with it. So Judith's followers and people knows that she does these occasional things, but she absolutely will stick to 13 people, and it absolutely will be for a limited time, and it only will be for the people who pay for the year up front. So you've got to have integrity around your sales, and that's what
it has to be that, otherwise it doesn't work. I can't do 26 people because I just told you I've been working too hard. Do you know what I mean? You've got to. 13 is a lovely number, as it happens to me, and everybody's always liked it. They liked it in 2013, they liked it in 2014. I hope they'll like it in 2015.
Yeah. No, great. So go and have a look at Judith's Magic 13. Was it Magic 13?
Lucky
13 blog post. If you want to see how a sale should be done, because I've been very impressed with that. Which leads us nicely into the next section, doesn't it?
Yes, you go first, darling, because I'm going to talk about myself again.
Oh, good. I watched Ed Sheeran back again. And I really enjoyed it enormously, as you said. You didn't tell me that he ended up with a pug's head on, which was...
Oh, no, I didn't, no. Or that his girlfriend phoned in the middle to say she's putting the veg on, when would he be home for dinner? Which I
completely missed that bit.
Did you? Oh, no.
Yeah. Oh, I'm going to have to watch it again now. The other thing that's impressed me is the proliferation of really gorgeous themes. I've been mooching around all these startup sites, and there's one in particular called Inbound, which is a forum, but a nice-looking forum, and it's run by the people who run HubSpot, which is a bit like Infusionsoft, but more sophisticated. And I found on that a theme called Startuply, which is a great name for a theme, and it's specifically for startups, new businesses. It's available through Theme Forest. It's only $48 for one site. It's just the most beautiful theme I've seen for a long time. So if you're thinking of starting a business of any kind, it's got a holding page on it. It's got a registration coming soon kind of page, but it looks really expensive. So that's what's impressed me this week. Startuply theme.
There are some lovely themes around, actually. I really would love a visual makeover of mine. I don't need it, I just want it.
Yeah. I've got a lead pages theme on clicksandleads.com, which was the most brilliant thing I'd ever seen until I saw the Startuply theme. Yeah. So there you go. What's impressed this week, Judith?
Well, as I said, you haven't been with my clients this week. So the thing that's impressed me this week is me. and let me tell you how I've impressed myself. Today, it only makes sense if I share with our listeners that we're recording this on the 31st of December. Today is the 365th consecutive blog post that I've written.
Wow.
And it was a New Year's intention a year ago to blog every day. And I didn't know when I started out if I could do it. And certainly I would give myself in the other areas of my intentions about a 50% score. This is a 100% score. And it's made me think of a few things. You know, we all start New Year's with lots of intentions and goals and plans and resolutions and all that, but you can only stick to the ones you love. And I do love writing, and I particularly love blogging, thanks to you. Before you commit to anything for 365 days, you have to be absolutely sure that it's something you love. Otherwise, it's not going to happen. It's going to fizzle out next week, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And we worked out, didn't we, that you'd had a 30% increase in traffic through doing it.
It's more than that, actually, on some of them, wasn't it? I thought it was 60% more visitors. Anyway, we won't go into that because we can't. Our memories of it is not the same. But it was better. Was it worth doing 365 days? I don't think so. But you convinced me that it was, I think. But I don't think that's the main reason why I did it. I did it because eventually I want one of my next careers to be that of a writer.
Yeah.
And so, you know, writers write. So I've got lots of clients who are writers. You have to commit to writing every day. And I'll tell you who taught me that, Joshua Fields Milburn, who's one half of The Minimalists. I did a writing course with him in October the year before last. And he made us all commit. We were writers, about being writers, all commit to an extra hour in the writing chair every day. And that's the only way to be a writer, is to write every day. It's probably the only way to be almost anything. It's the 10,000 hours of practice. And it certainly hasn't been 10,000 hours. It's probably been 700 hours or something, hasn't it? Because often a blog post can take 2 hours. Mostly it doesn't. But let's say 500 hours.
Yeah, I rediscovered my love of blogging with this 7-day startup blogging, because I had something to talk about every day. I definitely need a structure. So I think I lost the blogging mojo the year before last, because I just didn't know what to write about, really. And I felt that the stuff I was flailing about with shouldn't be shared in public. So I stopped. But then, having said that, we kept the blog going by putting 2 new podcast episodes on it with show notes and things. There has been ongoing action, but I definitely feel like writing again now. So are you going to write every day this next year, or are you going to go down?
I'll tell you about that in a minute, but I just want to address the point you just made there about not blogging because I don't know what to write. We ourselves, not in this conversation, but when you sit at home by yourself and think, oh God, what should I tell them today? It's quite hard to be excited or even remember what you know sufficiently to write about it. As you know, I always need a client to ask me a question before I remember what I actually know.
Yeah.
So I don't think it matters. I think people get overly het up about being, being a proper marketer. I think if you decide you're going to blog for 365 days of the year, or Monday to Friday for 52 weeks, or whatever it is you decide, it doesn't really matter what you write as long as you create content. And most of it will be about work, but if some of it's not, so what?
Yeah, but the thing that was holding me back was I just got tired of how can I write about the same things over and over again, you know.
Well, I think that's the getting hung up, you see. You just decide I'm going to write, and that you can't do it wrong.
Okay, yeah, because you've got to do something, so you might as well.
Yes. Yeah. Anyway, so in answer to your question, what am I going to do this year? I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to blog 365 days of the year. I might blog most business days, so Monday to Friday.
Yeah.
What I did last year, because I committed to 365 days, is if you knew you were going to be on holiday or running a cash flow going. I had to get a day ahead, or sometimes quite a lot of times ahead. My clients did help me because they created the content for the whole of August, which was brilliant. So that gave me a bit of a rest. But of course, you still have to write and create and schedule the 31 posts. So it's not really a holiday. But I'm going to write Monday to Fridays most days, but I won't do that. Oh God, I'm out all day tomorrow, so I've got to do it 2 today. I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
I'm going to do it most days. I'm going to call it a day in the life of a business coach, and I think that might turn into a book, and it'll be mostly about what I've learned from my clients, I think. So it'll probably be mostly done on coaching days, which is Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays. And I'm going to write more on Facebook, and I don't know if you've seen it, but I've been doing it over the 12 days of Christmas, which starts on the 25th of December. The 12 days of Christmas goes through to the 5th. Yeah, starts on the 25th on Christmas Day, and it goes through to the 5th of January. So I've been writing these things on there on the 21st day of Christmas. My business coach sent to me, and I've written all of those in advance, and they were easy. And I like writing on Facebook. And because of pages, you what?
You've got a structure there as well.
You have, yeah. So I've got to invent 12 more structures actually, but January, February, March, April, May. But I think that it will help my Facebook page by putting energy on it. Where you write, it's a new medium for me to write because I've always done the writing on the blog. But where you put energy, client attraction follows, I think. So I'm looking forward to doing that very much.
You might want to just think about, because Facebook organic reach is going down and down now because Facebook wants us to spend to boost our posts. So you might find that no matter how much energy you put into your Facebook page, the posts don't go out to as many people as...
Well, there's ways around that. First of all, when I mean energy, what I mean is more and more people commenting there so that I've got relationship building stuff going on my page.
Yeah.
And also I'm going to get into much more meme sharing. I think that's the word.
That works a treat, yes.
I know.
Yeah. Are you going to create those yourself?
I am.
Oh, okay. We're talking about, for the benefit of the listener, we're talking about pictures with a little sort of word or quote or something on it, or a thought. And they get shared like crazy. So that's a very good idea.
Yeah.
And then you just need to make sure when you share that picture that there's a link in the description to the whatever you want them to read, whether it's coming back to your page or your blog post.
Yes, it's mainly my blog, my website, I think.
Yeah, that would be work like gangbusters. That will.
Yeah, looking forward to that. I'm going to experiment with both of those.
Are you going to?
I'm such a rebel. I'm such a rebel that when people say things to me like, "You don't want to do that. That doesn't work," I think, you watch me. Because I know what everybody says about Facebook, but I love Facebook. And what did I say just now? What you love gets done. And when I started to move it all from my profile to my page, I could see how easy it was to create interaction on my profile. So I was unwilling to do that because it seemed to me that all you could do on a page was broadcast, really. But actually, since I've been more on my page, more people come over from the profile and play with me on the page, and it gets busier and more interesting. And I like Facebook.
Well, I do too. So, God, I mean, I'm living from it, so obviously I do. Yeah. Just play with it. Yes, if you get interaction on your posts on your page, it will increase your organic reach. It's got to.
I know.
We'll just have to see. What I just want you to watch out for is overall, you might want to get a spreadsheet going for this, Judith. Overall, every time you put one up, how many people does it reach?
Well, you can see that on Insights, can't you?
Yes, you can. Yeah. So it gives you good ideas about what your audience interact with. Usually cats. Yes. They love cats.
Well, I like cats too, so that's easy.
Cats and inspirational thoughts. It's perfect for you.
365 cats. Well, you've given me a good idea, actually, Nicola, because I've been looking for lovely coloured backgrounds for my memes. But actually, I should have a lot of cat memes, shouldn't I?
Oh my God, that's a brilliant idea. Well, I'm going to watch this one with interest. Excellent. Well, thank you very much for another lovely, thoroughly enjoyable hour. And
not at all, beloved.
Yeah, and we'll be here same time, same place next week. And all our listeners, please, we would really appreciate it if there's a little, if you come to the website at ownitthepodcast.com, under each episode there is now a little link to a video that shows you how to go and rate and review on iTunes. And it really does make a tremendous amount of difference in the early days of a podcast. So thank you very much. We appreciate your help in advance. Speak to you soon, Judith.
Bye, Nicola.
Bye.
Gotta take
You've been listening to Nicola Cairncross and Judith Morgan. The podcast is called Own It, Your Business and Your Life. Do come and visit us at ownitthepodcast.com. We'd love to hear your feedback. You can find out more about Judith and visit her on her website at judithmorgan.com, and you can find Nicola at nicolacairncross.com.